In the near future, most of humanity lives in poverty. Those struggling to make ends meet volunteer for deadly jobs like mining or space missions. The slipstream system, which enables faster-than-light travel, converts people into digital signals and sends them to distant colonies. For this process, an Apex device is implanted into each worker's nervous system. Whit, a new recruit, is about to join the West Coast search and rescue team. His pregnant wife Lisa gives him a photo for good luck. When Whit arrives at the base, he's warmly welcomed by the team. The captain sends some squads out on a mission and then questions Dave about his last jump. He has found evidence of a dirty jump in the log files. Dave says it was just a minor mistake. At that moment, an announcement comes through. All squads from 14 to 28 begin jump preparations. The captain reviews the records of the jump. Team members are landing in a mining area with their eyes closed. Within seconds, only a few people return, but they're all covered in blood and screaming. When a quarantine breach is detected, the alarm goes off. Doctors try to help, but one of the wounded pulls out a gun and starts shooting at everyone. Captain Dave and Whit try to escape, but the security system activates. The door locks. From what they can see on the screens, the survivors start going insane one by one and attacking each other. As bullets rip through the room, the trio is left helpless. Their only option to survive is to make a jump, but the only available coordinates show a point outside the system. Infinity. Dave doesn't want to go there, because the team that just went insane had also returned from there. But the lockdown protocol activates and poisonous gas starts to fill the room. Now they either have to jump or die. The captain's Apex device malfunctions. Only Whit and Dave manage to make the jump. The captain, on the other hand, dies from suffocation by the gas. Right after this incident, the East Coast Central Command plunges into chaos. The commander forms a new rescue team and explains the situation. Infinity is the most remote outpost in the galaxy. Because of an extremely explosive mineral found here, 1,600 workers have died. After the incident, the area was closed off and only a research team was sent in. During the mission, an accident occurs and the entire team dies. Only Mentali survives. He tore out the Apex device in agony so he wouldn't be recalled. Now Mentali is planning to send a large amount of that dangerous mineral to Earth. The mission of the newly formed team is to go to Infinity and stop him. Just then, news arrives from the West Coast. Teams numbered 14 to 28 were also sent to retrieve Mentali, but all of them have disappeared. It appears that everyone in the Western unit is dead. Only Whit is still alive. Due to the time difference, he has been stranded on Infinity for a week, and there's suspicion that there may be an airborne threat at the station. The new team jumps immediately and arrives at Infinity. The outpost is devastated, and everything is covered in ice. The team quickly splits up for their tasks. Boxen and Jackler are assigned to find Whit, while Menzies, Granick, and Kent are tasked with finding the cargo. Mannings, Huntington, and Captain Johansson are assigned to repair the generator. As the exploration continues, they find hundreds of bodies in the corridors. Some are frozen, while others have died for unknown reasons. Soon after, Menzies' group finds the cargo. However, they can't figure out how the system is still getting power. Meanwhile, Johansson's team finds a corpse with strange swellings on its neck. When they reach the generator, Huntington starts the repairs. Mannings goes to check the surroundings. Mannings finds horrific experiments made with human skin and organs in one of the rooms. Some are still hanging on the walls. At that moment, the generator kicks in and the system comes back online. A dark message appears on the screen. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Johansson guesses who it is and says they're here to rescue Whit. After this answer, the ventilation system turns on, thick steam fills the rooms, and the station goes into complete lockdown. Mannings gets trapped in the room with the experiments and watches in horror as the bodies start to decompose and leak blood. Meanwhile, Boxen's team finds a door that opens on its own, and Whit comes out from inside. Whit disables the security lock and meets up with the team. Then he explains what happened. He waited to see if the team that arrived here was safe, because the station is now turned into a complete slaughterhouse. The cause of all the deaths is an infection transmitted through blood. This virus drove people insane and made them kill each other, just like what happened with the miners. Whit says he tried to return with the slipstream, but failed. That's why he hid in the ventilation ducts and blew up the outer vents to kill those inside. Huntington asks how the station is still operational. Whit explains that the system runs on binary codes and that he is now the one controlling it. The team wants to know if he can disable the load, but this question angers Whit. At that moment, he realizes that the team didn't actually come to rescue him, but to seize the mineral. Sensing the tension, Jackler steps in and calms Whit down. They promise to take him home if he helps. Whit sits at the computer, starts up the system, and locates the load. But to shut it down, someone has to go to the furnace room and perform a manual override. Menzies volunteers. Johansson sends Jackler and Granick with him. Whit tells the team to look out the window. Everyone is amazed to see the giant wind turbines keeping the station running. Meanwhile, Jackler, Menzies, and Granick reach the furnace room. With Whit's guidance, they activate the system. While chatting, they talk about their hopes of returning home and reuniting with their families. Whit starts working to disable the load. Huntington suspects that he might be infected, but Whit firmly says that he hasn't been infected. Shortly after, Whit initiates the process and the alarm starts to sound. Whit tells Menzies and Granick to close the valves. The measuring devices are malfunctioning and the system is at risk of exploding. Thanks to Whit's instructions, they safely shut down the process. The team is about to regroup when suddenly Montali appears and attacks Johansson with an axe. Mannings reacts quickly and takes him down with a single shot. Then they start searching for medicine to treat Johansson's wounds. Meanwhile, Jackler and Granick hear the gunshots over the radio and decide to head back. Menzies stays in the furnace room. Huntington and Whit don't want to approach Johansson out of fear of infection, but Mannings forces them to help. At that moment, Montali suddenly comes back to life and attacks Mannings. After a brief struggle, Mannings fires his gun, blowing Montali's head apart. But the splattered blood spreads everywhere, and the infection starts to affect everyone. The team screams in pain, losing their minds. Whit manages to pull himself together in a panic and succeeds in suppressing the effects. He immediately calls out to Menzies over the radio, telling him to hide. Then, while escaping, he loses his balance and falls several floors down. He loses consciousness and, in his dream, sees his pregnant wife, Lisa, waiting for him. When he wakes up, he realizes he survived the fall. The infection has increased his physical strength. Whit comes to his senses by vomiting and hears a sound from afar. A crazed Kent is looking for him and blames him for the team's death. A deadly chase begins in the station's dark corridors. Kent keeps shouting and insulting Whit. Just as he's about to catch him, Jackler appears. Now completely insane himself, Jackler attacks Kent. Jackler brutally beats Kent to death. Whit hides quietly. When Jackler leaves, he takes Kent's gun and gets out of there. After a while, Whit finds a laboratory. He looks for medicine against the infection but can't find any. While trying to resist the violent urges in his mind, he comes across a series of research notes. The notes say that the deadly substance is actually a frozen organic parasite. The scientists have named it primordial mud. This entity is instinctively predatory and drives everyone it infects insane. According to the research, only emotionally resilient individuals can resist this infection. In others, the virus spreads rapidly. The parasite wants to become the alpha cell and can copy any organic matter it infects. Given enough time, it can even reconstruct an entire human body. The scientist behind these experiments has mysteriously disappeared. While Whit is examining the documents, he hears a sound. When he goes to check, Menzies suddenly jumps out of the closet and attacks him. After a brief struggle, Whit swears he isn't infected and explains what happened. Menzies calms down, looks over the notes, and realizes a horrifying truth. The entire planet is a living organism. The parasite can't think. It acts only on instinct and tries to choose an alpha among them to survive. There is no cure for this infection anymore. The only way to survive is to return to Earth. But the only people who can communicate with headquarters are Johansson and Huntington. And Johansson is most likely dead. During their conversation, Whit starts to feel the effects of the infection again. Menzies suspects this, but Whit claims it's just from the injury he got when he fell. The two decide to work together to find Huntington. While they're making their search plans, the glass door suddenly shatters and Mannings bursts in. Without hesitation, Mannings attacks Menzies. Whit draws his gun, but Mannings threatens him and demands he lower his weapon. He has a nervous breakdown and shouts, "Did they send us here just to save that idiot Whit?" He yells. Then he starts rambling paranoidally. He says he's being watched by someone. After a while, he completely loses his mind. Whit and Menzies try to calm him down, reminding him of their families. Mannings takes a deep breath and says, "Everyone has a choice." Then he takes his own life. But the splattering blood gets on Menzies' face. The infection takes effect instantly. Menzies starts to go mad, screaming. Realizing he has no other choice, Whit is forced to shoot him. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Huntington is also fighting the infection. After a while, Whit starts to have hallucinations. He sees himself going wild, losing control, and wrecking everything around him. He takes a deep breath, tries to collect his thoughts, and suppresses the hallucinations. But now his eyes are bloodshot. He hears a sound, and when he follows it, he finds Huntington. Huntington is recording a farewell message for his family. It seems he is also fighting off the infection. Whit points his gun and says, "I want you to take me home." Huntington stays silent until the recording's finished. Then he says he's made contact with headquarters and they'll be picked up in 8 hours. These words shake Whit because, according to the records in the lab, no human can withstand the infection for more than 2 hours. As the hours pass, Whit and Huntington slowly start to lose their minds. One moment they're laughing, the next they're crying. Then they have a nervous breakdown and start yelling at each other. Eventually, Whit gets tired of waiting and decides to go to the medical section on his own. Meanwhile, Granick is trying to find a cure for the infection using his medical knowledge. He injects himself with medicines, tries different mixtures. But when he looks in the mirror, he notices scaly patches appearing on his back. These are the same strange swellings he had seen earlier on the necks of the other team members. Suddenly, the door opens and the Jacklers come in. It's seen that his arm is mutated in a grotesque way. Jackler approaches Granick and tries to kiss her, saying, "I'll protect you." The woman recoils in fear. Then Jackler asks, "What happened to our baby?" he asks. Granick confesses in tears. "I had to take it away." "Because it was infected," she says. These words drive Jackler mad. He attacks Granick in a rage, but the woman defends herself, using whatever she can get her hands on. At that moment, Whit and Huntington reach the medical section. When they enter, they see what's happening thanks to the parasite linking their minds together. Jackler is dead, and Granick is gravely wounded. Whit kneels beside her and asks, "Isn't there any way to stop the infection?" he asks. Granick struggles to breathe. The parasite is very smart. "The only escape is death," she says, and takes her last breath. With all hope lost, Whit's mind collapses. His eyes turn blood red. Anger and paranoia take over again. Huntington thinks Whit is now fully infected and points his gun at him. Whit defends himself. A violent fight breaks out between the two. In the end, Whit gains the upper hand and escapes from the room. Huntington chases after him. Whit jumps into a shaft with a staircase leading down. When Huntington follows, he realizes the stairs are covered by the parasite. The infection is now spread throughout the entire station. Huntington's eyes also turned blood red after coming into direct contact with the parasite. Then he jumps into the shaft as well. But Whit is waiting for him below. The two of them get into another fight to the death. Huntington has gone mad, attacking without feeling any pain. It's as if neither of them can die. Blow after blow lands in quick succession. Eventually, they both fall into a pool filled with water. Whit gains the upper hand. He grabs a piece of hose, wraps it around Huntington's neck, and with great force, snaps his neck. After the fight, Whit takes Lisa's photo out of his pocket and looks at it to gather his strength. He heads to the medical bay. He finds a scalpel and starts recording a message for the parasite. He says, "You can't survive this way. You're turning people against each other by using their anger. If you keep doing this, you'll never understand humanity. If you had cooperated with us, we could have helped each other." As he speaks, he mentions his family and his teammates. His eyes fill with tears as he says that everyone here just wanted to do an honest job. Images of his teammates and Lisa flash before his eyes. He still has Lisa's photo in his hand. He finishes his message and ends everything with his own hands. Shortly after, Whit's voice echoes throughout the entire station. The parasite begins to cover the dead bodies with a sticky layer of mineral. Then these minerals merge and a human face appears within the liquid mass. At that moment, Whit's spilled blood starts to flow back into his body. A few minutes later, Whit opens his eyes. There isn't a single wound on him. When he looks around, he sees the entire crew alive and perfectly healthy. Manning says that the parasite is gone. Whit goes to the laboratory. He realizes that all the mineral samples have indeed disappeared. The team regroups and meets in the control center. No one can explain what happened. The horror they've experienced is still written on their faces. In the end, they come to an agreement among themselves. They'll cover up what happened by saying they passed out due to a pressure malfunction. The mission is complete. The cargo has been destroyed. Whit has been rescued. Now they can go home. 5 minutes later, the team prepares for slipstream. Right before the jump, Whit sees something. Standing before him are 5 humanoid figures made of minerals. One of them is holding Lisa's photo. This shows that the parasite really did hear Whit's words. The jump begins and the team returns to Earth. When they arrive at the base, the place is in total chaos. A group of doctors immediately surrounds them. They test their mental state by asking personal questions. They also ask, have you been exposed to any dangerous substances? They ask. The whole team answers in unison. Now, still, everyone is put through a full body scan. Their results come in. Everyone passes the test without any issues, except for Whit. The scanner can't read his biological data. The commander turns and asks, you aren't exposed to any dangerous substances? He asked. Whit stays silent. Right at that moment, the device starts working again, and finally Whit is also reported as clear. The team is in shock because they find out that only 52 seconds have passed on Earth. In the final scene, Whit returns home. The moment he opens the door, Lisa runs up and hugs him. Tears stream down her face because she had been told that Whit would never come back. The two of them hold each other tightly. Now everything is behind them.